like to read the back of
I would
Halloween
actually love
H2O.
to. This smart and suspenseful thriller scares up a bone-chilling good time with the original Scream Queen, Jamie Lee Curtis, True Lies, Halloween 1 and 2, and a hot cast of hip, young stars, ! Now, the head mistress of a private school, Laurie Strode, Curtis, is still struggling with the horrifying 20-year memories of the
Maniacal killer?
Thank you. Maniacal. I don't think I've ever read the word maniacal before. You ever just like see words and you're like, I don't think I've ever seen that word spelled out before. Okay.
No, probably not as often as you.
I read a lot too, okay? I read a lot. I think I read it, like I know what it is, but I don't know how to say it. Like, okay, my brain. Maniacal killer Michael Myers when he suddenly reappears with vengeance! ! And this Halloween, his terror will strike a whole new generation. Laurie's rebellious son, Josh Hartnett, the faculty, his girlfriend, Michelle Williams, TV's Dawson Creek, and the school security guard, LL Cool J, Woo, and BAPS, will become Michael's newest victims unless Laurie can conquer her greatest fears and put evil in its place for once and for all. The time has come once again for you to experience the frightening fun of Halloween, the motion picture series that will totally redefine terror. Jamie Lee Curtis, sexy, smart, and stunning.
Ooh.
The Los Angeles Times.
Ooh. So yes, Halloween H2O. Now, this was a big deal when it came out. Because again, 20th anniversary. Jamie Lee Curtis is back, baby. This is in the post-Scream era. I think Kevin Williamson worked on this. He worked on the story, but he didn't write the script.
But you do see Scream in it.
You do see Scream 2 in
I
it.
I love that.
Fun fact.
Ooh.
Last year, I did a video breaking down the TV cut of this movie, which is a disaster. But in that review, I mentioned that I also watched the work print, which wasn't very different. There were only a few changes in the work print version. One of them was, instead of Scream 2, they're watching So I Married an Axe Murderer starring Mike Myers.
Oh, fuck. I love that. That is a good movie. I like that movie.
Yeah.
I mean, shit, that's funny.
But here, I'm glad you mentioned Scream 2, because I brought this up a couple times.
Okay.
There's now a horrifying continuity error that breaks this universe.
Oh, no.
Because in Scream 1, they're watching Halloween. But then in Halloween H2O, they're watching Scream 2. So what universe is the canonical Prime universe? It's just the reality would like warp in on itself. How can they both be fictional movies in each other's universe? It doesn't make sense.
Multiverse. It's the multiverse of horror. Holy shit, can we create a multiverse of horror?
I think Halloween has already done it because there's 5 goddamn timelines.
No, but with all the killers, like, yes, I know there's Jason versus Freddy versus Jason, but like.
And if you watch my Freddy's Dead episode, I talked about how that's also a multiverse because the TV show is in its own continuity.
Yes, and I know we did. What is it? What is it called? Cabin
in the Woods.
Thank you.
It's not really a multiverse thing, but it's
no, but it does take. If like all the characters were in, I mean, I know a lot of people hate that film, but I love seeing the cubes and all the monsters.
Why would people hate that film? We'll talk about that another time.
I would
love that
love to talk about that movie. But
yes.
I would love to see like how we're doing with all the Marvel and DC shit.
Yeah.
Let's do a horror
version. Let's do a multiverse horror film.
Yeah.
So Halloween H2O. Now this is the second one put out by Dimension Pictures, our good friends, the Weinsteins. They weren't really thrilled with how Halloween 6 turned out, so I think that's why they kind of threw caution to the wind. They got Jamie Lee Curtis back, but she regrets not being a producer on it. Also, she thought John Carpenter was coming back, and he wasn't. Actually, the director of this, funny enough, was Steve Miner, who did, I believe, Friday the 13th Part 2, and worked on a couple of those films. Yeah, she wanted to come back. She wanted to make sure she actually killed him. And they kind of like screwed her over. They kept saying like, oh, yeah. And there's a great interview with her being like, and then I kept reading, the van goes off the cliff and there's a fire and then it ends. She's like, when am I going to kill him? And they had to make a whole compromise, which I talked about in Halloween Resurrection when I reviewed that movie Dumpster. But yeah, I kind of like this film.
Yeah. What do you mean kind? Really? Interesting.
I've grown to like it less over the years.
Really?
Yeah. I think it's just because over the years I love Halloween more and more and more. And then I kind of get annoyed with Halloween 2 with the whole sister thing. So this following up on that kind of taints it for me.
So you don't like the universe of this, is what you're saying?
No, but I like the idea of like a survivor coming back, which again, I talked about it last year. I like the 2018 kind of did this idea, but for me better, for me personally. But no, this was cool to see at the time. And I remember my cousin got to see it before me.
Okay.
And when she came home, I made sure she told me everything that happened in the movie because I couldn't wait. And then I forgot by the time I bought it on VHS or rented it on VHS.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
But yeah, so in this universe, Michael's disappeared. So he also survived the explosion in this universe and has no burns.
Yeah. He's not dead.
No.
No.
Has no burns.
No.
But also, Dr. Loomis survived the explosion in this universe, and he has died recently because he died in real life. So I think early scripts for this did include 4, 5, and 6 as canon, but they didn't dwell on the events.
You think so?
So I think that's why Loomis being alive, even though he clearly died in the explosion, I feel like that was left over from previous versions of the script. Also, your earrings are screwed up. Now the other ones. Okay. The white sides were showing. So I think little things were left over from that. Because it's like, why have Loomis be alive? Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's like, oh, he died right before the movie started. It's like, really? Because if I'm watching this right after 2, I feel like he died in that big fucking explosion.
But you think it has a little bit of 4, 5, and 6?
I don't think it has. The version we're watching has none.
Yes.
But I think it was written originally to have a little bit of that in there. Now, I'm going to take a little break here. Later this week, and I'm saying it so I have to do it, I will be reviewing a comic book I found that is a sequel to H2O, but it actually connects H2O to part 4, 5, and 6. It combines those universes. I found this comic. It's got a hell of an ending, and I will be reviewing that later this week.
But is H2O... How? Is it before 4, 5, and 6?
No, H2O is its own thing. But there was a comic that tried to justify it and make it part of the universe, but we're not counting that.
H2O as a continuous?
Yeah, the guy who wrote Halloween 6 wrote a comic to try to combine it with H2O. But the film itself is a part 3.
Wait. Do they say how old? Because I want to guess how he did this. Is it how old is Danielle Harris's character? Do they say? Or at least what grade she's in 4?
She's supposed to be, I think she was like 12 or 13, but I think she's playing 8 or 9.
That's what I'm curious. If that's 8 or 9.
Yeah.
And that's supposed to be 10 years.
Yeah.
So she had her kid 2 years after all of that.
Yeah.
This is 20. She had a kid then.
I guess she kept her son and ditched the daughter.
That is the only thing I can think. But
yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
No,
anyway,
I'm trying to be like, oh, okay, maybe then she had another kid.
Look.
But he's 17. This is 20 years.
Yeah.
So that's...
It doesn't make sense. Look, I will read the comic and I will do a nice breakdown of it and talk about how they try to connect these universes.
I was going to say, maybe she's just trying to like protect her daughter and say like, oh no, I die. Almost like a, who did that? Which horror film did that? Where they said...
This one?
No, where they said, oh, I'm going to pretend like I never existed to save you.
I don't even know.
Or maybe it's not a horror movie.
I think that was in a Harry Potter, to be honest.
No, there was...
I think there was a Harry Potter movie where she erases her family.
What am I thinking of where the mother's like, oh, I said I was dead for all this time to protect you.
I don't know. It could be any movie,
and then
really.
They went off. It literally could be any movie.
Okay. Back to H2O.
Oh, yeah. Halloween.
Yeah, so Michael has survived. He is killing Nurse Marion, who's still around from the first 2 films. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, my co-star from The Dark Knight Rises, plays a young kid in this. He gets sliced up. They have on the porch, I think the previous film, because it was Dimension Pictures, which owned Hellraiser at the time, they put a bunch of nails inside of a pumpkin to be like Pinhead. But in this one of the decorations is the Chatterer demon from
Really?
Hellraiser.
I missed
Yeah.
that. Fuck.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so Michael basically breaks in there, kills those kids, kills Marion to get the information on where Laurie is. Because I guess Dr. Loomis had information on where he knew that Laurie was a headmistress at a school under a different name.
That's very confusing. Why that?
And she faked her death. Yeah, why would he know that? Why would he care? Like, it'd be better if he didn't know where she was and had no record of it.
Maybe because he's just so obsessed with this case, so he feels as if he needs to know everything. But I feel like Laurie at this point, she keeps reliving these memories over and over. But for her to try to escape, was it in California?
She's in California.
For her to go out like so far away, I don't know.
So far away from when the first movie was in Illinois. I do like the music in this, but it's a mixture of two people's scores. Yeah. John Ottman's score, and they decided they didn't want to use a lot of it, so they mixed it with Marco Beltrami, and I think some Scream music is in this.
Really?
John Ottman eventually released his full album, which you can get on Amazon Music. I listened to it, so you get to hear his version of the score. I like the beginning, though. Cool. The opening credits, I do think they misspelled Donald Pleasant's name, if I remember right. That's a little rough. But they do the whole credits, but they show like Michael's still been killing for 20 years. They show like all these dead bodies and shit. Like he's still around. Yeah. And then they had a voice actor do Donald Pleasant's voice.
6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face.
So that was really cool. Then we meet Laurie Strode, who is now Carrie Tate. And I like they gave her the scar and everything. And she's now an alcoholic because she suffered from... and a lot of these ideas get reused later in 2018.
Yes. But you do you can understand though why she is an alcoholic and how she does have the horrific. Because I'm also reading right now the Final Girl survival group. I always mix up the words.
Final Girls
support group or something.
Yeah, support
and
group.
I just in my head I'm like, wow, like rewatching these, I'm like, the characters in this book really are so relatable and to understand. You watch Jamie Lee Curtis, her character, Laurie Strode, just having to relive this for 20 years. And you're like, shit. Like, it happened. It was in this continuity, it happened in what? What did you say, 24 hours?
Yeah, it was like 2 days.
I'll say 48 hours.
Yeah.
And this 48 hours affects her till the day she dies.
Yeah. Speaking of Scream Queens, did you like that the one old lady who works for her is her real life mom, Janet Leigh? When they're leaving the yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was Janet Leigh.
Shit,
and then she even gets into a car and they play a little bit of the Psycho theme.
How did I miss that? Holy
Crystal, where can we learn more about Psycho?
Oh, Patreon.
Well, yeah, that's where we did the commentary track for the remake, but we reviewed the original Psycho on this channel.
Yeah.
Check that out.
Channel and Patreon.
Yes. And
I just keep thinking of our freaking commentary of the newer
the remake, yeah, which you did not like. She had never watched. She went in blind to the Psycho remake. She did not enjoy it.
So angry at that.
So yeah, this is obviously 1997, I think. So you got our hot young teens. We got Michelle Williams, Josh Hartnett. The hot goth girl was really cute. She should have been in more big things. She's in a lot of things, but I liked her. Although the guy she's dating has the biggest nose in the world. I noticed that. But yeah, everyone is going on a trip.
Yep.
And poor John Carpenter, he's not allowed to go because his mom is overprotective. Yep. But then she lets him go. But it turns out he wants to stay home and party with his friends. So he's actually going to play hooky and stay at the school.
Because he's also he's never really got to celebrate Halloween.
Yeah.
So for this one Halloween that affected Laurie so much, she just constantly keeps thinking it's going to happen again on Halloween. Why does she think that, though?
And then, I
want to know that.
It is funny that he brings up, he's like, you said you watched him burn. She's like, I didn't stay to see his ashes. And it's like, did no one stay to see his ashes? Because, someone, there would be a body.
Yeah.
It would be really, it takes
some
a
type
while.
Of bone, you would see the teeth, you would have something.
Yeah, and also since Donald, and actually she should be like, well, the fucking doctor lived and he was right at point break or ground zero where the explosion was. So forgive me, I think Michael actually made it. And he's like, well, didn't you see him burn? And she should say, no, I saw a guy who happened to be wearing a fire suit walk out of the same room. I don't know what he was doing there.
Yeah.
What is more disappointing in this film? Michael Myers' mask or Josh Hartnett's hair? And now keep in mind, there are 4 masks in this film. I did a video breaking that down too. I did a little short. So the movie starts, if you don't remember, the movie starts with the Halloween 6 mask.
Yes.
Which they probably just should have used.
Yeah.
Then they switched to, they did a K&B mask, which is actually in the background here, which is like pure white.
Yes.
K&B did that. That's actually the one you see in like a lot of the trailers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then they did, I think, the Stan Winston mask, which is the prime mask they use for the whole film, for all the close-ups and whatnot. It is actually funny when Josh Hartnett is like behind the gate and Michael's like,
yeah.
all the wide shots, it's the K&B mask. And then the close-ups, it's the newer one. And then did you notice the CGI mask? So when the big nose guy, after that really drawn out scene where you think he's going to like get his hand chopped up in the garbage.
Yes.
He bumps into Michael and they CGI'd the Stan Winston mask onto the K&B mask and it looks terrible. And it looks even worse when you watch it in 4K.
I was wondering what felt off about that.
Yeah, where he's like,
yeah,
it looks so bizarre.
Really odd, and I couldn't tell why.
That was one of the problems with this film is like, you got to figure out the mask, guys, before you go into this.
Yes,
this
please.
is like an important.
How do you not? Like the whole thing is based off that that.
And the fact that there's 4 masks makes it really distracting.
Listen, he had to do some costume changes, so people didn't know.
I do think they show his eyes too much too.
I think they almost do that on purpose to show. Well, no.
He's always doing this.
Is it the same? We'll get to it.
Wait, how does he even have eyes? This is a question for the other films. He was shot in the eyes in part 2. How does he have eyes?
There's a lot of questions.
Yes.
We'll get there.
So,
'Cause I didn't have all these questions while watching it, but now I do. Thank you so much, Tony.
Well, it's actually an entertaining film.
I really do like this. I
I like her stuff
film.
with her boyfriend,
Yes.
Jamie's boyfriend. I like her secret alcoholism. And I like that it builds up to this final battle between her and Michael where she gets to just let loose and beat the shit out of him.
That is what I wanted Halloween Ends to be.
Yeah.
This is the whole, I would say a good chunk, what would you say? Would you say like the last third of the movie is
pretty
about
much,
between
yeah.
those two? That is what I wanted Halloween Ends to be.
Did you like his one-armed? When I did the work print of Halloween Resurrections, I realized that wasn't in there. So I think
really?
I think if I remember right, someone was like, "No, you got to put the one-arm thing in there. That's cool as shit." Yeah, that final battle is really cool.
It's real. The whole thing of it's just.
I love LL Cool J's subplot. His subplot's pretty great.
Him. I think
he's trying to write a romantic romantic novel and he's constantly calling his girlfriend. She's giving him notes. And the whole movie you think he's going to get killed. Then he gets shot on accident.
Which is interesting because he was out. Like he was out. And like, sure. At the end it says the bullet grazes
Well, fun
him.
fact, the TV cut of this, he's dead.
Really?
They don't ever show him alive, if I remember right. So,
but that is, wait.
Yeah.
But he grabs her at the, it's not like he just randomly shows back up. He helps her get out of that.
No, I think he's dead in that version. I'd have to watch it again.
Then how did she?
That's a good point. I have to watch my video again to see if I'm wrong. Anyway, I like LL Cool J in this. I mean, he was
really
kind of
good.
thrown in there because you got to throw a musician in these. They did
And it's also like it's a comedy relief.
They were doing that a lot because what was it called? The sequel to I Know We Did Last Summer. I think put Brandy in there.
Mm-hmm.
They were doing that for a while. They eventually threw a Destiny's Child into a slasher film.
Yep.
But yeah, this film is very 90s.
It's extremely 90s.
It's very 90s, but I think it's pretty well made. I mean, it still has all the issues I have with the other films. Like, oh, look, I could buy that he's just a tough guy in the first one, but after a while, I'm like, how is he so invulnerable to everything? How did he survive the fire? Like,
I mean, if you listen to Loomis, like, I'm sure in the other ones that don't exist in this one, like on the fourth, like, he's not human.
Yeah, I guess so.
And I guess if you're kind of already that is in your head, you're kind of already thinking that he's not human.
I guess so.
That's the
I guess
only
so.
thing I can justify, even though they killed that aspect later.
It's got some decent kills. That girl getting her leg cracked.
Oh my
God, that
the
like
elevator
that hurts to watch.
Yes.
And then he slices her up.
I love the kills in this.
Dude, the nurse's neck as she's screaming and the blood pours out. I like poor Joseph Gordon-Levitt gets escaped through the head. You don't see it. You see the aftermath of it.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
I think the kills in this are absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
The suspense between Laurie and Michael, I think, is exactly what is needed.
Mm-hmm.
The long fight scene.
Yeah. And then
this is what should have the last trilogy that has been out should have been. Why they didn't take note on this, I don't.
We'll get to that in a second. But like, I do like where you think the movie is going to end.
Yeah.
You're like, this is how it always ends. I do like that Laurie's like, no, I got to make sure I drive him out. Like, I have to make sure
As if
I'm
none
the
of the
one
other
who did
cops, though, had guns.
Yeah, that was the funny thing.
But I think at that point, they're just like, I think it was just, the only way I can justify that is that they are so shocked that she's like taking advantage, like, holy fuck, where the hell did she get this guy? Like, what is she doing? She just went through all this trauma. Okay, we're just gonna let this happen. Because you don't see cops chasing her. You don't see this. You're just
that's another thing. They would have chased her. They're like, hey, can we at least escort you? Like,
but I think
you know,
just, like,
in case you fall off a goddamn hill. I mean, you do hear them at the end, so they weren't too far behind.
They were, and she was like,
so Michael
hardcore driving that.
Yeah,
and I think maybe like they were in shock.
Yeah,
that's the other thing, like, what the? I mean, I'm pretty sure anyone else would be like, what the fuck just happened?
So yeah, it's cool to see her come back, and you do get a satisfying fight, and then you get that wonderful finale where the fucking van pins Michael Myers, and you're like, oh, is she gonna give in? Even though that'd be stupid.
Oh, yes.
And she fucking slices that shit off. And I love the sound effect, the beep from the first one. The theme kicks in. And then she's breathing. And it's really, really good.
Great ending.
The fun fact, the beginning of Resurrection was already planned when they did this.
That's what I wanted to know.
She, in her interview, she wanted to chop his head off. She really wanted to try and kill him, and then eventually they had to cave, and they were like, hey, Mustafa Akkad will not let him die. So she came up with this compromise. She's like, at least make it seem like I killed him in this one, but if there is a sequel, it's revealed that he switched bodies, and then I have to die, and then I'm done. She said, I'm doing one more, and then I'm done, and I'm never coming back to Halloween.
Lies. So I do want to know, though, are those different eyes in the mask?
No, it's the same stunt, man.
I wish, because that's what I was curious, because like you said, they show the eyes a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, they look like the same, because in that scene, you really see the eyes. And I know that's almost like the point.
Yeah. And he looks like he's evil. He's like,
Yeah, like, yeah.
There were some versions of the script where he was going to talk.
Oh, thank God they didn't do that.
He was going to say Laurie. I think I read one where he gets impaled in the heart. And there was another one. I think that a helicopter cut him in half. And I guess they were like, well, that's all. The budget's getting a little high. Let's lower that.
But at least change the eyes or something and make it, because there's so many horror films where that actually happens, where you think that's the killer, but they actually switch bodies.
Yeah.
There's a few of those. But you can also see
Valentine.
Perfect.
Valentine.
Where you can see you can see the action of the person in the costume.
It's
you're
a
like,
little
this
different.
This isn't me. Like you can see something's off. But that
well, of course, in this one, they wanted you to think it was Michael Myers.
But the eyes are the same.
I bet you they were hoping, like, please don't make a sequel to this. Please don't make it. And then they did.
But if you already had Resurrection in your brain, you would think you would change the eye. Like, give me.
No, I think it was more important that they made this feel self-contained. They were not too worried about the sequel. They came up with that compromise, but I don't think they were really banking on it happening. But yeah, it's a feel-good, fun action film. It's fun to watch 1, 2, and then this. This is way better than 2. It's way more entertaining than 2.
2 is boring to me.
2 is boring.
But I do think 4 is even more boring to me.
4 is a better lead character. Jamie is just kind of in a coma for most of 2. So
yeah, I know. She's in the hospital.
Here she gets to do stuff. And yeah, and like I said, the seeds in this were planted for Halloween 2018, where they revisit a lot of these ideas. And like I said, I think they did 2018. I like more than this. I feel like it does this idea much better. It gets rid of the brother sister thing, and they have an awesome fight in that one.
I don't.
that ends with her killing him. The problem is they made sequels, which we're about to talk about.
I don't remember what I said about the 2018 one, but I don't hate it.
Yeah,
I
I like
hate
it.
it.
It's my
Yeah.
favorite of the sequels now.
Really?
Yeah. My count separating part 3.
Yeah.
But no, this one's a good time. This one is a good time. It's pretty stupid. Again, just stick with the original. But if you're
Yeah.
gonna go, if they're out of all the Halloween continuities, this is one of the better ones that
Yeah.
you can end here. And well, obviously it gets even better with Resurrection because
I love Resurrection.
because as we all know, I'm the #1 res tard here, and I love Halloween Resurrection. I was afraid to say that a year ago, and now I don't fucking care. Yeah, so Halloween H2O, solid. People always say, oh, that was that one good one. It was that way. Remember that one good one?
Yes.
The one where Jamie came back, that one good one.
Yeah.
And then they did Resurrection. That
Yeah.
goes away. They do the remakes. Those go away.
Yes.
They bring Jamie back for 2018. Talked about that next year. And then they made a sequel.